Oh, don't tell me you're gonna fall asleep before we finish. You have gotten old, haven't you?
Oh, nigga, you gay!
Hey, what's going on, guys? So, Twitter recently discovered Matthew Rosenberg's Joker miniseries, The Man Who Stopped Laughing, or, I guess more accurately, discovered the backup features within the pages of The Man Who Stopped Laughing. And even then, more accurately, a panel from one of the backup features within the pages of The Man Who Stopped Laughing. And it's this panel where one of the Joker's henchmen is pointing at the Joker's very expanded waistline, saying, "Boss, you're pregnant," or, something like that. And this panel from this backup story, from this miniseries, which nobody is reading, because I work on a comic book store, and I know for a fact that nobody is reading this book, but nonetheless, this panel has sparked outrage, because it puts into question the Joker's sexuality, but more importantly, his masculinity.
You serious?
Guys, I'm at a loss here. I thought we'd reached the depths of parodic media illiteracy brought on by social media when people on Twitter were trying to cancel Deathstroke for being a pedophile, despite the fact that he is a supervillain whose entire motivation is murdering a group of teenagers. I thought that was the lowest point comic book discourse could sink. And I was wrong. Clearly we can sink further. So, okay, the outrage, from what I've seen, begins with this YouTuber named Jester Bell. I looked into her channel and I was honestly surprised, because she is a legit comic book reader. Not one of those pop culture grifter channels. And she posted to Twitter in what reads like pure disgust this panel. And then all of the usual suspect grifter channels proceed to retweet the post and make videos dedicated to the Joker's heterosexual masculinity being stripped from the character. Because if anything is sacred about the character of the Joker, it's that he's a heterosexual masculine man. The pinnacle of traditional masculinity. It's part of his character. This is weird, right? This outrage is weird. Dark Knight Returns came out in 1986, where Frank Miller writes and draws Joker with homoerotic overtones? Not undertones, overtones. In Batman Arkham Asylum, by Grant Morrison and Dave McKean, was published in 1989, where Joker is sexually harassing Batman throughout the entire story. And even that gets weird when you figure that the book is taking place in Bruce Wayne's mind as a dream sequence. And that, honestly, says more about Bruce than it does the Joker. But, I don't know, it's a silly backup story in a comic about Red Hood and Joker having a Tom and Jerry style cat and mouse chase. It's not even the A story. It's an 8-page self-contained B story to pad out the page count to justify charging $2 extra for the comic book, which should be the spark of some outrage, because making people pay $2 extra for a backup story in an already overpriced comic book, because let's be honest, $3.99 is freaking insane for a 22-page comic book, but that's the real outrage here. Or at the very least, it should be. But no, the Joker's manhood is at stake. You know what's really funny about all this? The Joker wasn't even really pregnant. He tried to ask out Zatanna, one of the most powerful mystics in the DC universe, who naturally annihilates him, and the confrontation ends with her shoving Joker's face in a mud pit where he swallows a bunch of mud. And then later he vomits the mud out, and it's alive, because magic, I guess. And the story ends. Just like the previous 3 self-contained, completely banal backup stories, which are all very Silver Age inspired. And that's the other thing. These backup stories all have a very 1950s, 1960s DC Comics tone and style. And for everyone freaking out about this whole Joker being pregnant bit, who maybe isn't an avid comic book reader, well, okay, scratch that. Everyone I've seen freaking out clearly aren't avid comic book readers, so that's a moot point. A story like this would be right at home in the Silver Age of DC Comics. Right alongside Superman getting a spanking from the ghost of Jor-El and Wonder Woman babysitting a dinosaur. Like, if you have even a base familiarity with comics, then I'm genuinely at a loss as to why this is an issue. And again, this is all very weird. Of all of the things to complain about in comics, editors being paid unlivable wages while they're being overworked, leading to subpar stories. That is something to complain about. Writers and artists not being compensated for their work, even after characters or locations or what have you are adapted to popular films and video games. That is something to complain about. But the Joker vomiting a magical mud monster in a backup story that everyone's gonna forget about in the next 6 months? And that somehow makes him trans? Even though I'm 1,000,000% sure that is not the intent behind the comic, but whatever. That's where we're gonna choose to focus our attention? Whatever, man. Oh, man, I can't. This is a grift. It's all a grift. And I'm not even mad at the grift anymore. You know, I think, what's her name? Jester Bell? I think she got a substantial subscriber boost after all of this, and that's all it is. Appeal to the mindless internet outrage, and get clicks from people who don't read comics, or care about comics, but desperately want to be angry about something, so that they can feel that they're on the right side of the argument. That's all it is. And I'm sure you guys have some thoughts on this too, so if you have any, let me know down below in the comment section. I'm the Mystical Green Beanie. Oh, Jesus, dude. Thanks for watching, and as always, until next time, adios, nachos, adios.